The stars looked cold and empty through the small window of the cargo ship, sat alone in the pilot's seat. His hands rested on his knees. The ship was old. It made strange sounds when it moved, but did not mind. He had traveled through space many times before. The ship's name was Dawn. It was not a warship. It was not fast. It could not fight. Dawn was just a simple cargo vessel that carried food and medicine to small human colonies far from Earth. Had been doing this work for 15 years. He liked the quiet. He liked being alone with his thoughts. Today, the mission was simple. He needed to deliver medical supplies to a mining colony on the edge of human space. The trip should have been easy. It should have been boring. But the universe had other plans. The alarm started screaming. Red lights filled the small bridge. Looked at his screen and saw something that made his heart beat faster. A large ship was coming toward him. It was not a human ship. The design was strange. The metal was black and twisted like the bones of some dead creature. Knew what it was. Everyone in human space knew about them. They were an alien race that had been attacking human ships for the past 3 years. They were tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were completely black, like deep holes that held no light. They believed they were the supreme race in the galaxy. They saw humans as nothing more than insects, weak, stupid, easy to kill. His hands moved fast over the controls. He tried to turn the ship around. He tried to run, but Dawn was too slow. The warship was like a hunting animal. It moved with terrible speed. In seconds, it was right next to him. A voice came through the radio. It was harsh and cold. The translator made it sound almost human, but could hear the alien nature behind the words. "Human vessel, stop your engines. Surrender now. If you try to run, we will destroy you." Closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about fighting. He thought about trying to escape. But he knew it was impossible. Dawn had no weapons. Dawn could not outrun anything. He was trapped. He pressed the button to respond. "This is captain of the cargo ship Dawn. I am alone. I am carrying only medicine and food. I surrender." There was laughter on the other end. Multiple voices laughing together. They found it funny that a human thought his words mattered. "Good little creature," the voice said. "Prepare to be boarded." Minutes later, the airlock opened with a loud hiss. Cold air rushed in. Then they came. 5 soldiers walked onto his ship. They were even bigger than had imagined. Each one stood at least 8 feet tall. Their forearms held weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their black eyes looked at everything with disgust. Behind the soldiers came their commander. He was different from the others. He wore a dark cape made from some kind of animal skin. His face had scars. He had clearly seen many battles. When he looked at, his thin lips stretched into an ugly smile. "So small," the commander said. "So fragile, your kind is truly pathetic." Said nothing. He kept his hands raised. His face showed no emotion. He simply waited. The commander walked around him slowly, looking at him like one might look at a strange animal in a cage. "I am commander. I have killed many of your kind. They all begged for mercy at the end. Will you beg, human?" "I am just a cargo pilot," said quietly. "I have nothing of value. I am no threat to you." Laughed again. He nodded to one of his soldiers. The soldier lifted a small device and pointed it at. A blue light scanned over his body from head to toe. "The targeting system will tell us everything about you," said. "Your species, your health, your threat level, it has never been wrong." The device made a soft sound. Words appeared on a small screen. The soldier read them out loud. "Species human, origin Earth, health optimal, weapons detected none." The soldier paused and then continued with a slight laugh in his voice. "Threat level 0, classification unarmed target." Clapped his 4 hands together in amusement. "You see, the system confirms what I already knew. You are nothing. Your species is nothing. You are prey and we are the hunters." 2 soldiers grabbed by his arms. Their grip was strong enough to break bones, but did not struggle. He did not cry out in pain. He simply let them drag him toward the airlock that connected to the ship. As they pulled him through the dark corridors of the alien vessel, saw other prisoners. Humans locked in small cells. Some were crying. Some were injured. All of them looked hopeless. They had given up. They believed they were going to die. Looked at them as he passed. One prisoner, a young woman with short black hair, met his eyes. Her name tag said. She was bruised and tired, but there was still fire in her eyes. She had not given up completely. Gave her the smallest nod, so small that the guards did not notice, but saw it, and something in that tiny gesture made her sit up. The guards threw into an empty cell. The door closed with a heavy sound. Stood outside the bars, still smiling his ugly smile. "Tomorrow we will take you to our home world," said. "There, you will be sold as a slave, or perhaps you will be used for experiments. Either way, your life as you knew it is over." Sat down on the cold floor, he looked up with calm eyes. "I understand," he said simply. Frowned slightly. He had expected fear. He had expected tears. But this human just sat there like he was waiting for a bus. It was strange, but shook off the feeling. Humans were weak. Everyone knew this. The system had confirmed it. He walked away, leaving alone in the darkness. In his cell, closed his eyes. He breathed slowly and deeply. His body relaxed. But deep inside him, something ancient began to stir. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The thought they had captured an unarmed target. They thought they had caught a weak, helpless human. They were wrong. They had made a terrible mistake. And soon, they would understand just how terrible that mistake was. The night cycle on the ship was cold and silent. The lights in the prison area went dim. Most prisoners tried to sleep, but fear kept them awake. They whispered to each other through the bars. They shared stories of what they had done to their friends and families. Did not whisper. He did not move. He sat in the corner of his cell with his back against the wall. His eyes were closed. His breathing was slow and steady. To anyone watching, he looked like he was sleeping. But he was not sleeping. He was listening. He listened to the guards walking past. He counted their steps. He learned their patterns. Every 30 minutes, 2 guards would walk through the prison area. They would check each cell and then leave. It was always the same. They were confident. They did not expect trouble from their weak human prisoners. In the cell across from was also awake. She watched the strange man who had nodded to her earlier. There was something different about him. She could not explain what it was. He seemed too calm, too relaxed, like he knew something that nobody else knew. Had been a soldier before her capture. She had served in the Earth Defense Force for 8 years. She had fought in small battles against pirates and criminals, but nothing had prepared her for when they attacked her patrol ship, everything happened so fast. Half her team was dead before they could even reach their weapons. The rest were captured. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then had been trying to find a way to escape, but it seemed impossible. The ship was huge and filled with soldiers. The prison cells were strong, and most importantly, the human prisoners were weak and scared. Nobody wanted to fight. But maybe this new prisoner was different. When the guards finished their next patrol and left, moved to the front of her cell. "Hey," she whispered, "you, the one they brought in today." Opened his eyes slowly. He looked at her without speaking. "I saw what happened when they scanned you," continued. "You did not even blink. Are you not afraid?" "Fear does not help," said quietly. "Fear makes you weak. Fear makes you slow." Frowned. "That is easy to say, but these aliens are going to kill us, or worse." "Perhaps," said, "or perhaps not." Before could respond, the lights suddenly came on bright. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor. Commander appeared with 4 soldiers and a scientist. The scientist wore white robes and carried a large device that looked like a metal box with many wires. "Bring out the new one," ordered. The guards opened cell and dragged him out. They pushed him into the middle of the corridor. The scientist looked at with curious black eyes. "This is the one you spoke of?" the scientist asked. "Yes, a simple cargo pilot, but I want a full scan. The basic scanner showed nothing interesting, but I want to be certain before we sell him." The scientist nodded. "The deep scanner will show everything, every secret his body holds." Pressed herself against the bars of her cell, she watched as the scientist set up the device. Other prisoners woke up and watched too. Nobody spoke. The air felt heavy with tension. The scientist activated the device. A bright blue light surrounded completely. It was like standing inside a glowing bubble. The light moved over his skin, his muscles, his bones. The machine made a low humming sound that grew louder and louder. Then something strange happened. The machine made a sound like choking. The blue light flickered. The scientist looked at his screen and his 4 hands began to shake. "What is wrong?" demanded. "What does it say?" I do not understand," the scientist stammered. "The machine is detecting something inside him, something deep, but it cannot identify what it is." Grabbed the scientist by his robe. "Explain now." "His body, it is different. On the outside he appears normal, but inside, there are layers, hidden layers. His muscle density is impossible. His bone structure shows signs of evolution, rapid evolution, like his species has been changing itself over thousands of generations." The scientist tapped more buttons. The machine hummed louder. Error messages began appearing on the screen. "The readings do not make sense," the scientist continued, his voice rising in panic. "His neural pathways are 5 times more complex than any human we have scanned before. His cellular structure can repair itself at an abnormal rate, and there is something in his blood, something the machine has never seen before." Looked at, for the first time there was something other than amusement in his eyes. There was doubt. "What are you?" asked slowly. Did not answer. He stood perfectly still with his eyes half closed. The machine suddenly sparked. Small explosions of electricity burst from its sides. The scientist jumped back in fear. The screen cracked. The blue light around flickered wildly. Then, clear as day, new words appeared on the broken screen. "RECLCULATING. Error, initial assessment incorrect. CORRECTNG, threat level." Everyone stared at the screen. The words changed again. "Species, human, NHNCD. Origin, Earth, Apex HOMWRLD. Threat level, unable to calculate. Classification, Supreme Deity CTD." The corridor went completely silent. Even the machine stopped humming. Everyone stood frozen like statues. Felt her heart beating fast. She did not understand what was happening, but she saw the fear growing on the faces of the soldiers. Real fear. The kind of fear she had felt when they captured her. Stepped back from his hand, moved toward his weapon. "Supreme, that is impossible. The Supremes are only a myth, a legend. They are not real." The scientist was still shaking. "The machine does not lie. The machine cannot lie. Whatever this creature is, he is not a normal human." Finally opened his eyes fully, and saw something that made her breath catch in her throat. His eyes had changed. They were still human eyes, but there was something ancient inside them, something old and patient and incredibly dangerous. It was like looking into the eyes of a sleeping predator. "I am exactly what I appear to be," said softly. "I am human." His voice was calm, gentle even, but somehow that made it more terrifying. "All humans carry potential," continued. "Most never unlock it. Most live and die without ever knowing what they truly are. But some of us remember." "Remember what?" demanded, his voice harder than before but with a slight crack in it. Smiled slightly. It was not a threatening smile, it was almost sad. "We remember what Earth made us. We remember the millions of years of survival, the ice ages, the predators, the wars, the plagues. We remember every challenge that tried to destroy our species, and we remember how we overcame them all." He looked at directly. Your species has existed for 50,000 years. You think that makes you superior. But humanity has been fighting for survival for 200,000 years. We did not just survive, we dominated. Every threat that came against us we defeated. We hunted the hunters. We conquered the conquerors. And when there was nothing left to fight on our world, we started fighting each other, just to stay sharp. The soldiers raised their weapons. Their hands were shaking. You think we are weak because we hide our strength, said. You think we are prey because we choose peace. But we are not prey. We have never been prey. He took one small step forward. The soldiers stepped back. We are the apex predator of an apex world, and you have made the mistake of waking one of us up. In her cell felt tears in her eyes, not tears of fear, tears of hope. For the first time since her capture, she believed they might actually survive this. They had thought they captured an unarmed target. Now they were beginning to understand the truth. They had caught a monster, and they had no idea what to do with it. Commander had killed hundreds of beings in his long military career. He had conquered planets. He had crushed rebellions. He had never once felt fear in battle. But standing in front of this human, this cargo pilot, he felt something cold crawling up his spine. It was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. You are lying, said, forcing strength into his voice. Humans are weak. Our scanners have studied thousands of your kind. You are all the same, soft, fragile, easy to break. Tilted his head slightly. Your scanners studied normal humans, farmers, workers, scientists, people who have never needed to wake up the old part of themselves. He paused. But I am not normal. I spent my youth in the mountains of my homeland. I trained my body and mind for 30 years. I learned to access what my ancestors gave me. Impossible, the scientist said, but his voice was weak. Your species evolved on a gentle world, continued. Your planet gave you everything you needed. Food was easy to find. The weather was kind. Predators were few. You grew tall and smart, but you never had to fight for every meal. You never had to survive winters that killed half your tribe. You never had to hunt animals that could kill you with one strike. He looked around at the soldiers. Their weapons were still aimed at him, but their confidence was gone. Earth was not gentle, said. Earth was a monster that tried to kill us every single day. Volcanoes, earthquakes, ice ages that lasted thousands of years, diseases that wiped out millions, and animals, so many animals that wanted to eat us. We were small, we had no claws, we had no fangs, we had no armor, but we survived. Do you know why? Nobody answered. Nobody could answer. Because we learned to be the most dangerous thing on our planet. We learned to run longer than any animal. We learned to throw objects with deadly accuracy. We learned to plan, to trap, to ambush. We learned to work together in ways no other species could. And most importantly, we learned to never, ever give up. His hand gripped his weapon. If you are so dangerous, why did you surrender? Why not fight when we captured you? Smiled again, that same sad smile. Because I was hoping you would let me go. I was hoping you would see that I was not a threat and release me. I do not enjoy killing. I have not killed anyone in many years. I hoped I would not have to start again. The word again hung in the air like poison. But you brought me here, continued. You threw me in a cage with other humans. You showed me prisoners who are scared and hurt. You laughed at my species. You called us weak. And now you threaten me with weapons. His eyes moved to each soldier one by one. Each one felt like he was looking directly into their soul. I gave you a chance to walk away. You did not take it. That is not my fault. Made his decision. He raised his weapon and fired. The energy blast was bright and fast. It should have burned a hole through his chest. It should have killed him instantly, but was not standing where he had been standing. He had moved. Nobody saw how he moved. One moment he was in front of the weapon. The next moment he was beside it. The energy blast hit the wall behind him and melted the metal. Before could fire again, grabbed his arm, just grabbed it, but felt bones crack. The weapon fell from his 4 hands. He screamed in pain. The other soldiers opened fire. Energy blasts filled the corridor with deadly light, but was never where they aimed. He moved through the chaos like water through rocks, smooth, fluid, impossible to predict. He reached the first soldier and struck him once in the neck. The soldier collapsed. He reached the second soldier and took his weapon. With one hand, he crushed it into a ball of broken metal. Then he threw it at the third soldier. The ball hit with enough force to knock the soldier through a wall. The fourth soldier tried to run, caught him in 3 steps. He did not hurt this one badly. He simply pressed a nerve point and the soldier fell asleep. The scientist stood frozen in terror. His equipment was scattered on the floor. His tablet was shaking in his hands. "You should leave," told him calmly. "Tell the others what you saw today. Tell them that humans are not weak." The scientist ran. He ran faster than any had ever run before. Lay on the ground holding his broken arm. Blood leaked from his gray skin. He looked up with wide black eyes. All the arrogance was gone. All the cruelty was gone. Only fear remained. "What are you?" he whispered. Knelt down beside him. "I already told you I am human, but let me explain something else. There are over 10 billion humans in the galaxy. Most of them are like the ones you have captured before, peaceful, kind. They just want to live their lives and raise their families." He leaned closer. "But some of us are different. Some of us remember the old ways. We are scattered across human space. We live quiet lives. We try not to draw attention. We hope we never have to use what we are." Stood up. "Your people have been attacking human ships for 3 years. You have killed thousands of innocents. You have made slaves of our people. You have laughed at our weakness. And all that time, you never wondered why the humans did not fight back." Said nothing. He could not speak. "We did not fight back because we hoped you would stop. We hoped you would see that we wanted peace. We hoped you would leave us alone," shook his head slowly. "But you did not stop. You got bolder. You attacked more. You thought our patience was weakness." He looked at the cells where the human prisoners were watching with stunned faces. Had both hands on her bars. Her eyes were wide with amazement. "You made a mistake," said Tu. "You woke up the wrong human, and now I have to clean up the mess." He walked to the control panel on the wall. His fingers moved over the buttons. One by one, the cell doors began to open. "Everyone listen to me," called out to the prisoners. "My name is, I am going to get you all out of here, but I need your help. Can you fight?" For a moment nobody answered. They were too shocked, too scared, too confused by what they had just witnessed. Then stepped out of her cell. She walked over to the fallen soldiers and picked up one of their weapons. She checked it like she had done it 1,000 times before, because she had. "I can fight," she said. "I was a soldier before these monsters took me." Nodded at her. "Good, I remember you. You had fire in your eyes when I first saw you. I am glad it is still there." Other prisoners began to emerge. Some were crying. Some were laughing. Some just stood in silence, unable to process what was happening. "There are 200 soldiers on this ship," said. "There are 30 of us. The odds are not in our favor, but I have seen worse odds, and I am still here." He looked at each prisoner, at each human face filled with fear and hope and confusion. "Today we show them what humans can do when they stop being afraid. Today we take back our freedom. Today we fight." Raised the weapon in her hands. "What is the plan?" Smiled, a real smile this time. "The plan is simple. We reach the bridge. We take control of the ship. And then we send a message that the entire galaxy will hear." He turned toward the corridor that led deeper into the ship. Behind him, 30 humans followed. Some had weapons. Some had only their hands, but all of them had something they had lost before. They had hope, and sometimes hope was the most dangerous weapon of all. The alarm screamed through every corridor of the warship. Red lights flashed on every wall. Voices shouted through the communication system in the harsh language. The ship was no longer calm. The ship was in chaos. Led the group of humans through the metal hallways, walked beside him, her stolen weapon ready. Behind them came the other prisoners. Some were strong, some were weak. Some could barely walk, but all of them kept moving. They had no choice. Going back meant death or slavery. Going forward meant a chance at freedom. "The bridge is on the upper deck," said quietly two. "We need to go through the main corridor. There will be soldiers." "How many?" asked. "Many." They reached the first intersection. 10 soldiers were waiting for them. Their weapons were raised. Their black eyes were filled with anger and fear. "Surrender, humans," one of them shouted. "You cannot escape. You are outnumbered. You are weak. Surrender now and we might let some of you live." Did not stop walking. He did not slow down. He walked toward them like he was walking through an empty park. "Last chance," the soldier warned. "Stop or we fire." Kept walking. They fired. What happened next would become a legend among the human prisoners who survived that day. They would tell the story to their children and they would tell it to anyone who would listen. Moved through the energy blasts like they were raindrops. He did not dodge left or right. He flowed. He shifted. His body seemed to know where every blast would go before it was fired. It was not magic. It was not luck. It was something deeper. It was a skill that had been passed down through thousands of generations. The skill of a hunter, the skill of a survivor. He reached the first soldier and struck. One hit. The soldier fell. He turned to the second and struck again. Another soldier fell. Then the third, the fourth, the fifth. Each movement was precise. Each strike was perfect. No wasted energy, no wasted motion. Watched with her mouth open. She had been a soldier for 8 years. She had trained with the best fighters in the Earth Defense Force, but she had never seen anything like this. It was like watching a dance, a deadly, beautiful dance. In less than 30 seconds, all 10 soldiers were on the ground. Some were unconscious. Some were injured, but none were dead. Had been careful. He did not kill unless he had to. "How?" one of the prisoners whispered. "How did you do that?" Picked up 2 weapons from the fallen soldiers. He handed one to an older man who looked like he had been a worker before his capture. "Every human has this inside them," said. "We just forget how to use it. We live soft lives. We sit at desks. We watch screens. We forget that we are the children of survivors, but the ability is still there, sleeping, waiting." He looked at the group. "I do not expect you to fight like me, but I need you to remember something. Your ancestors survived ice ages with nothing but sharp rocks and fire. They hunted animals 10 times their size. They walked across continents through freezing cold and burning heat. That strength is in your blood. Use it." The older man gripped his weapon. His hand stopped shaking. "I understand," he said quietly. "I will not let you down." They continued through the ship. More soldiers came. More soldiers fell, but not just because of. The other humans began to fight as well. They were not skilled. They were not graceful, but they were determined. They remembered what had told them. They found something inside themselves that they had forgotten existed. Fought beside, she was good, very good. Her military training showed in every movement, but something else was happening too. She was getting better as she fought. Her reactions were faster. Her aim was sharper. It was like a door was opening in her mind. "I feel strange," she said during a brief pause. "I feel like I am waking up from a long sleep." Nodded. "That is the awakening. Once it starts, it does not stop. You will never be the same after today." "Is that good or bad?" "That depends on you. Power is just power. What matters is what you do with it." They reached the main corridor. It was wide and long, leading directly to the bridge, but it was also filled with soldiers. At least 50 stood in formation, their weapons ready. Behind them, more soldiers were arriving every second. The ship's AI spoke through the speakers. Its voice was cold and mechanical. "Warning, human prisoners have escaped containment. Threat level elevated. All personnel to main corridor. Warning, Supreme Class Entity DETCTED. Extreme caution advised. The soldiers heard the message. Some of them looked at each other nervously. Supreme Class Entity. They had heard the legends. They had thought they were just stories, but the fear on their faces showed that part of them had always believed. Stepped forward. He stood alone in front of his group. His hands were empty. He had given his weapons to others. "I will offer you one chance," he called out to the soldiers. "Put down your weapons. Open the bridge doors. Let us leave. If you do this, nobody else needs to be hurt." One of the soldiers laughed nervously. "There are 50 of us, there are 30 of you, and half of you can barely stand. You are brave, human, but you are also stupid." "I was hoping you would say that," said. And then he did something that nobody expected. He walked forward, alone, toward 50 armed soldiers. The soldiers opened fire. The corridor filled with light and sound. Energy blasts flew from every direction. The noise was deafening. The heat was intense. But was not there. He was everywhere and nowhere. He moved through the storm of fire like a ghost. When he finally stopped moving, he was standing in the middle of the soldiers. All around him, weapons lay broken on the ground. Soldiers lay unconscious against the walls. He had not killed a single one, but he had defeated all of them. The remaining soldiers dropped their weapons. They fell to their knees. They surrendered, not because they were ordered to, but because they understood something that changed them forever. Humans were not weak. Humans had never been weak. Humans had just been patient, and now that patience was over. Ran forward with the other prisoners. She looked at the fallen soldiers with disbelief. "This is impossible. 1 man against 50. This should not be possible." "Nothing is impossible," said. "We just limit ourselves because we are afraid of what we can become." He walked to the bridge doors. They were locked. Heavy metal protected them. Security codes were required. Did not bother with codes. He placed his hands on the metal. He closed his eyes. He breathed slowly. Then he pushed. The metal groaned. It bent. It twisted. The doors that were designed to survive space battles crumpled like paper under his hands. Inside the bridge, the ship's captain and his officers stood in shock. They had watched everything on their screens. They had seen one human destroy their best soldiers. They had seen the impossible become possible. "Get out," said simply. They ran. They pushed past each other trying to escape. They did not look back. Walked onto the bridge. She looked at the controls. She looked at the stars through the main window. She looked at. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." "Not yet," replied. "There is one more thing we need to do." He walked to the communication console. He pressed buttons until a light turned green. "What are you doing?" asked. "Sending a message," said. "A message that the whole galaxy needs to hear." He looked into the camera. His eyes were calm. His voice was steady. And what he said next would change the relationship between humans and aliens forever. The communication console hummed to life. A small red light showed that the message was being broadcast on all frequencies. Every ship in the sector would hear it. Every station would receive it. And from there, it would spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Stood in front of the camera. Behind him, the human prisoners gathered on the bridge. Some were wounded, some were crying, but all of them were free, and all of them were watching the man who had saved them. Stood at his side. Her weapon was still in her hands. She was ready to fight if more soldiers came, but the fighting was over. The ship was theirs now. "My name is," he began. His voice was calm and clear. "I am a human from Earth. 15 hours ago I was captured by this warship. They scanned me. They labeled me as an unarmed target, a threat level of 0. They laughed at me. They called my species weak." He paused to let those words sink in. They were wrong. On planets across the galaxy, aliens of many species watched the broadcast. Some had never seen a human before. Others had fought against humans or traded with them. All of them listened. For 3 years the Empire has attacked human ships, continued. They have killed our people, they have taken slaves, they have laughed at our suffering, and we did not fight back. We did not respond with war. Do you know why? He looked directly into the camera. His eyes seemed to reach through the screen and touch every being watching. Because we hoped. We hoped that you would see we wanted peace. We hoped that showing mercy would inspire mercy in return. We hoped that kindness would be answered with kindness. That was not weakness, that was choice. We chose not to fight because we have seen too much fighting. Our history is written in blood. Our planet is covered with monuments to war. We know what violence does. We know where it leads, and we were tired of it. On the bridge, some of the prisoners began to cry. They had lost family members to attacks. They had suffered for years, and now someone was finally speaking for them. But hope has limits, said. Patience has limits, and you have reached those limits. His voice changed slightly. It was still calm, but there was steel underneath it now. Cold, hard steel. Your system looked at me and saw an unarmed target. Then it looked deeper and corrected itself. It saw what humans truly are. It labeled me a supreme. But here is the truth that your machines cannot understand. I am not special. I am not unique. Every human carries the same potential inside them. Every human is the child of survivors who refused to die for 200,000 years. He gestured to the prisoners behind him. Look at these people. Yesterday they were crying in their cells. They had given up. They believed they were helpless, but today they fought beside me. They remembered what they are. They woke up. The Council of Elders watched the broadcast in stunned silence. Commander's father sat among them. His face was pale with shock. We came to your galaxy in peace, said. We spread to new worlds. We built colonies. We traded with other species. We tried so hard to be good neighbors. But you saw peace as weakness. You saw kindness as stupidity. You thought we were prey because we chose not to be predators. He stepped closer to the camera. Let me tell you something about prey. Prey runs, prey hides, prey lives in fear. Humans are not prey. We explored our entire planet. We climbed every mountain. We crossed every ocean. We hunted every predator until none remained that could threaten us. We did not run. We did not hide. We dominated. Watched speak. She felt something shifting in her chest. Pride. Deep, powerful pride in her species. Pride she had never felt so strongly before. This ship is now under human control, announced. All crew members have been defeated. Nobody was killed. I could have killed them all. It would have been easy, but I chose not to. Do you understand? Even in victory, we show mercy. Even when we have every right to destroy our enemies, we hold back. That is not weakness. That is strength. True strength. The strength to control the monster inside us. He paused again. The galaxy held its breath. Here is my message to the Empire and to any other species that thinks humans are weak. We came in peace. You chose war. That was your mistake, but we are willing to forgive. We are willing to start over. We are willing to try peace again. His voice grew harder. But if you attack us again, we will not hold back. If you hurt our people again, we will wake up. All of us. Every human in the galaxy will remember what we are. And we will show you why Earth was called the by ancient travelers. We will show you why our ancestors conquered everything that tried to stop them. He leaned into the camera. His words were slow and deliberate. Next time, we will not come unarmed. The broadcast ended. The red light turned off. Silence filled the bridge. Let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Do you think they will listen? Turned away from the console, he looked tired, old, like the act of speaking those words had cost him something precious. Some will listen, some will not, but the message is sent. The universe knows now. Humans are not to be touched. One of the prisoners, a young man with a bandage around his head, stepped forward. What happens now? Where do we go? We go home, said simply. We take this ship to the nearest human colony. We return these people to their families. And then... And then what? Asked. Looked out the window at the stars. So many stars, so much space, so many possibilities. And then we hope that this message was enough. We hope that we never have to fight again. He turned back to face the group. But if hope is not enough, we will be ready. I will find others like me, others who remember the old ways, and we will make sure that humanity is never caught unprepared again. The ship began to move. Its engines hummed with power. The stars shifted as they changed course toward human space. On the bridge, the 30 survivors stood together. They had walked into this ship as prisoners. They walked out as something else. They had woken up. They had remembered what it meant to be human. Moved to stand beside at the window. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything." Shook his head. "Do not thank me. Thank our ancestors. They gave us everything we needed. They just trusted us to remember when the time came." He looked at her with a slight smile. "And you remembered faster than anyone. The awakening is strong in you. If you want, I can teach you more." Thought about it, her old life was gone. Her patrol ship was destroyed. Her team was dead. She had nothing to go back to, but maybe that was not a bad thing. Maybe it was a new beginning. "I would like that," she said. "I want to learn everything." Behind them, the other survivors began to talk, to laugh, to cry with relief. The nightmare was over. They were going home. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the message continued to spread. Ship to ship, station to station, planet to planet, the galaxy was learning a new truth. Humans were not weak. They had never been weak. They were simply waiting, hopping, believing in the goodness of others. But now the galaxy knew what would happen if that belief was betrayed. Now they understood the warning hidden in its words. Humans came in peace, but if you forced them to fight, they would fight like nothing the universe had ever seen. Because Earth did not raise its children to be victims. Earth raised survivors, warriors, predators who chose to be kind. And if you made them angry, kindness would end. The stars burned cold and bright through the window. The ship sailed through the void. And somewhere in the hearts of every human who heard the message, something ancient stirred. The awakening had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.